What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Meathead Podcast. Joining me, as always, is my main man, Big Mike Cox. Today, he is being Dean, not Dean Caputo. For you Ohio people, you better know who Dean Caputo is. Yeah. And as always, in the lower right-hand corner, we have Jimmy Mentis. He's missing the I today in his name. And
I didn't even type it in. It just came up like that.
IFBB Pro Jimmy Mentis and future IFBB Pro Chris Pantano. I mean, that's kind of, if you don't turn pro, Chris, I'll eat my hat. And I do have a hat somewhere.
Yeah.
We have quite the topic tonight. Everyone's got their opinion on this. I bet if you ask 100 people, you'll get 93 different opinions on this. When is too soon to start gear? Everyone's got their own little rules in their head. And their rules are the rules that everyone else needs to follow because we're all right. We all believe we're the people who decide what others should do in their lives. So the way I want to start this is we all started gear at one time. I want to go around the room and ask, when did you know it was time for you? What was going on with your training, your life? How far along with you in bodybuilding? So, Jimmy, I defer to you. I always want to start with you. When did you know it was time?
I really didn't know I was on. I really didn't know. I can't call it a cycle because it was someone gave me a Primo. Remember I told you I used to walk into the pharmacy and I used to get the injection, right? But it was like one a week. And I was told to take this because it's going to help me through my diet. Okay. So I didn't know it was time. I didn't know, but I did know in 1989 when I won the New York, and then I won in Greece, and then went to New York, won that, and then I came for the USA's in 1990. I knew that was time. I'm not saying I was natural all the way up to that time, but there was always like, I had 3 amps of Primo or some Deca. It wasn't. I didn't have that mentality. It's time.
Okay. So you didn't go through a process of like, I don't know if I'm ready yet. Now I'm ready. I mean, it was just sort of a natural thing that happened. Natural.
Yeah.
Sort of a natural progression, I should say.
Yeah. It was a mindset. It was like, okay, I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Now I won this show. I won that show. I got onto the international, competition, of representing Greece. And most of the shows back then, they were all drug tested. I mean, even the 1990 USA's in Raleigh, North Carolina, it was drug tested.
Right.
So I wasn't prepped to say, okay, I'm going. I knew through the ranks, I knew I was a good bodybuilder. I knew I could be better, obviously, but I knew I had some kind of, I don't know, genetics. And after 1990, when I saw Aaron Baker backstage and he won the show, that's when I got ready for the Florida in 92. And I said, I'm going all in.
Okay. Chris, I think you're going to give me more of the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't be expecting a certain answer, but I know, we have a lot in common, Chris. You trained naturally for many years. So you were around people that used gear for many years before you used gear. So what was it? What led to you eventually saying, okay, this is it. I'm going to start now?
So there actually was a very distinct moment of when I decided. So I made up a decision in my early 20s, like 21, 22, 23, that eventually I did want to take them. I just didn't know really when. And I did this bodybuilding competition in this alphabet organization. It was called the BLNPA.
What?
It was called it was so gay. It was body language.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. BLN, National Association of Physique, or whatever the hell it was. I don't know. This guy named Kevin Topka.
Oh yeah.
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 I think that organization's just completely gone. But I remember I did that show. I think it was 2010 or 2011, and I was still natural. And I remember I was on stage and there are people yelling steroids at me from the crowd. And I was pissed.
Sons of bitches.
I was honestly so mad because the MC didn't like tell them to stop. You know what I mean? I felt it was pretty disrespectful. Like I worked just as hard as everyone else up here, you know?
Wow.
And
Wow.
I even went to like the MC and I went to Kevin afterwards. I'm like, hey, I'm like, not cool, guys. Like, you know, you're representing a national organization. You should be telling the people to respect the competitors on stage. I'm like, that's pretty disgusting behavior. And the MC was this big guy, and I don't even know what the hell his name was, but he was like, hey, man, he was like, you know in your heart you're natural. Like, who cares what people think? And I'm like, it's the fact that we're up here busting our ass to compete, and they're saying stuff like that. I remember I think I got third place at that show or fourth. I remember I took my trophy afterwards and I was really pissed off. I was really upset about it. I took my trophy and I'm like, fuck this organization. And I hung the trophy up against like a brick building and I shattered the whole thing. And I remember I was like, they want fucking steroids. I'm giving them fucking steroids. You know?
Wow.
So that was kind of the moment. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to do a little bit more in-depth research to try to just understand what's going on. I mean, I had already done a lot of stuff reading up to it over the years. But that was kind of like that moment. I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to start to jump over to the dark side, as we call it.
So was it basically the fact that people were just going to think you were on steroids anyway?
Yeah, I always got accused of it, you know, and I'm not so much for my size, but just like my strength that I had. So people always thought I was on stuff and whatnot. And I had every intention of doing it. You know, I originally wanted to wait till I was like 30, but I started around 28.
Okay.
So
Did you ever hear Jose's story about how he was accused of it like in middle school?
What?
And the school nurse, they made him go get a drug test or something.
Oh my
Really?
God.
yeah,
they were very
Jose told
concerned
me
about
that.
it. Yeah, this would be back in the like late 80s for him, I guess.
That's
Middle school.
crazy.
And what was crazy, Ron, is like I did my first NPC show in 2009, but I was natural at that show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I won my class. It was a very weak show. I mean, if I did any stronger show back then, I would have got my ass kicked. But it was cool first experience, you know, for doing an NPC show. So I'm like, all right, I'm still going to stay natural. We'll just go this route. And then all that stuff happened. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I really like the way the guys looked in the NPC. I'm like, that's what I'm trying to look for. You know, I don't want to look like a runner, you know, with posing trunks on. So.
And you had been training for how long at that point when you went on?
Oh, I was already training since I was 17. So, I mean, it was 11 years natural, 10 years natural. Yeah.
It's a little longer than most people wait. Big Mike Fox, it's time for your story.
Dude, so when we started, Ron, I didn't even know what steroids were, right? So I trained from 15 to, from 88 to 95 naturally. I had no idea what drugs were because it wasn't a thing. Mike Ashley was popular, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do this naturally and drug-free. And y'all was going to the gym before I can drive. So my plan, when I started to compete, I was like, I'm going to do like the under, remember they had the under 17 class. So I did those shows. Next step was the 19 and over. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to take a year off, do an open show. So that's kind of what I did. But I won an overall naturally at a national qualifier in 95. I was 152. But it was time. I remember seeing the guys in the magazines, and at the time, Jim Momney was in my gym. I would see him all the time, and we would prep for national. It was just a freak show. And Jimmy was the nicest guy. Never said do this or do that. But if I had questions, he would tell me. And do I remember, man? I got that Primo test in the shearing, little Primo test amps. Like they were $17 a piece. I remember at my friend's house, and like I remember that exact moment. Took my pants down, he hit it and just hit it. I'm like, oh shit. And then in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm going to be big tomorrow, right? But at the time, remember the anabolic reference guide? So I studied that. We all studied that and passed it around. So I remember I would eat good. And it was one of those things, Ron, I wanted to be competitive.
Yeah. And
I knew in order to be competitive, that's what I had to do. So in 96, I was 168 on stage at the Ohio. I won my class. But I knew it was never like taking tons of stuff because I couldn't afford it at the time. That was, $17 an amp. That was a lot of money. I'd use like my student loan money. I think the statute of limitations, the refund, right? So we had the nickel and dime and hustle for that at the time, but it was just, you remember that when it kicked in back then, because remember how good that stuff was? When that shit kicked, I remember you felt like fucking Superman, bro. Like the weights felt good, the dumbbells were smooth, but it's just, but once you go that route, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
So kids got to realize once you go down that path, like your whole hormonal system, like your mind, everything changes. Everything changes, man. So
you're never the same.
You're never, ever.
Never the same.
It's called going over to the dark side, which is Star Wars universe reference.
Yeah.
Ron, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep this to under 3 hours. So so I started training Christmas Day 1982 when I was 13. So I competed in the ANBC in 89 all the way through 94. Natural show. They did ABCC, but then the NPC started bringing out natural shows. I was writing for Iron Man magazine. They put on these shows called Iron Man Naturally. Did it in 94. I think I was like 4th in the light heavies. When I did it in 95, I was much better. I was the first time I was really in shape. I was 181 pounds at 5'8", and I got beat by a guy named Carl List, whose older brother Arnie. I think he was younger.
Arnie, yep.
Really good national level bodybuilder. Yep. So I knew that Carl had been on gear before, and at this point he was natural. But in my little peanut brain, I'm thinking the only reason this guy beat me is because he used to be on gear, and he built all this muscle, and he still has a bunch of it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on a bunch of gear for like a year, then take a year off, and then come back and beat everyone's ass in these NPC natural shows. 1 year on gear turned into like 28 years on gear. Yeah, I had been training long enough. The funny thing is I had been such a those annoying natural people that like have to rub it in everyone's face that they're natural and look down my nose at guys who are on juice. And I was working around all the top bodybuilders in the world at that time on that American Muscle show on ESPN. And in my little lizard brain, I'm thinking, once I get on gear someday, I'm going to look like this Paul DeMeo, this Mike Matarazzo, this Ronnie Coleman, all these guys, Kevin Leveroni. I'll be just like them. And no, that never happened. But and it was a decision. And I remember the first shot, like you said, once you do that first shot, you're like, that's it. I'm not natural anymore. Right. And it was kind of sad. I don't think I cried, but I felt like crying. All right. So go ahead.
When I started back in Greece, there was nobody to influence me. So I didn't know what a real bodybuilder was, or to say, hey, I want to look like that. Just on the magazines of Muscle and Fitness. And I was too poor. I was just go to the newsstand and just read them. Mm-hmm. It's when I got to the States that I realized it's like, hey, this is a whole new ball game. And that's where, you made that decision. But, I think the whole common denominator here is it's your surroundings, you're influenced, right? Because I was okay. As soon as I came here, and then I went to a couple of shows and I saw the guest poser at 270, 280. I guest posed on 5 days off the plane in Greece, and I guest posed the junior nationals at Rutgers University with Johnny Morant and Lee Labrada.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? No. And Johnny Morant was in his off season.
He's a big dude.
Okay.
He's huge.
And I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. It's when I moved here.
Yeah.
So I think the influence is huge on the kids.
When you see guys at the gym, when you're young, like we started as teenagers, and like in your 19, 20, you see those guys at the gym, and it just blows you. Like what's going on, but you don't know because it wasn't talked about. It was not like it is now. It was very hush hush. Like nobody was in the locker room talking gear. Nobody was sharing stuff with us, right? It was if you knew somebody that knew somebody. Yeah. And by the time you knew somebody, your stuff was stepped on 3 times, so you're paying 3 times as much, right? Yeah. But it was just you learn from the guys at the gym, but training was promoted. It wasn't like take three things of this. It was like, okay, you take this, make sure you eat a ton of food and train your asses off. Yeah. That's what we were told to do. And that's what we did, man. So it's just we didn't rely on it, right? It was just again, I couldn't afford 3 different things. I could afford some tests here, maybe some ready checks. I had to split 100 Russian D-ball with somebody just because it was so expensive. But the training was first. We trained our asses off and didn't rely on that shit. And we came off. There was like 12, 16 weeks off.
Well, see, you bring up a good point, Mike, because I think going back to when we were getting started, it was a secret club. People, the guys nobody talked openly about it. And in fact, the big guys at the gym who were on, we knew they were on gear. Gear wasn't even a term back then, but they wouldn't talk to you about it. They would get insulted or upset if you approached them and asked them about gear, and they didn't feel you were ready yet. Yep. They sort of were the gatekeepers. They wouldn't sell to just anybody. Even like the dealers back then, they're not going to sell to a 16-year-old kid. They're not going to sell to a high school kid. They wanted to know that you were, I don't know, had some level of maturity and responsibility. I don't know. They had a weird moral code, these drug dealers back in the day, that now a lot of it's online, I guess, that they don't have. So this is where we all get to express our little rules that we have. Jimmy, what are your feelings on when people, is it based on age? Is it based on training experience, maturity?
That's a real tough one. It's like when you told me about what we're going to talk about tonight, I was like, I'm sick. I can't make it. Listen, I'm against it if someone just wants to take it and say they're taking it. Okay. I made a decision to go all the way. It was, I sat myself down and I said, if you're going to commit, you're going to go all the way. You're going to do it. You're going to do what you have to do. Right. Yeah. So to me, that when you get to that point, that's where you make that decision. But again, that was back then. Today, there is no right time for me. There is no right time to take PEDs. There isn't. Like if someone came up to me and goes, hey man, when should I take PEDs? And my first answer would be, why should you? Why would you?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I want to gain some weight. Here, I'll write you out a program. Eat. In other words, before you learn, you want to get the X, Y's, and Z's, learn the rest of the alphabet, make sure that's in line, and then come to me if you want, and I'll help you with the X, Y's, and Z's. Now it's, let me hop on the X, Y, and Z, and they forget about the rest of the alphabet. And I think that's where topics like this come up. It's like, is there a right time for this? Right? I'm sure Mike didn't know if it was the right time. I'm sure Chris didn't know if it was the right time, even though he thought in his mind, like, fuck it, I'm doing it. Right. But still, I'm sure he's like, what am I doing here? Right. So to me, listen, if you're 18 years old, you can do the hell you want. Okay. You're an adult.
Yeah.
So there is no right or wrong. It's a decision. I would discourage the decision if you never plan on competing. Period. There's no reason for anybody to take PEDs if you're not going to compete. Now, there's also drug testing when I say compete, bodybuilding competing. Okay. Right. If you want to get in shape and you take the drugs, hey, to me, you're playing Russian roulette for no reason, for a look, right? If you're going to go on and compete, there's a light at the end of the tunnel because you never know where this will take you. I didn't know I was going to be on over 200 covers in my career. Who would have thought? Right? You never know. How many guys have we've seen in the amateur ranks be so-so, and next thing you know, 3 years later, we're looking at like, holy shit. Right? So you never know. But you have that light at the end of the tunnel. You have that goal. What goal is it for someone to get on PEDs at any age? Now, if you're over 40, 35, 40, and your test level is HRT, that's a whole different story. And you know how that goes, right? Oh, I'm only doing 125 a week. All right. The third week, I'm only doing 250. And then, And that's how it goes. I got clients on that doing that. And they're trying to lie to me, and they're up 7 pounds in 4 weeks. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I swear, coach, I swear. Dude, you're 50 years old. We're not kids here, because you know how it is. All 4 of us know how it is. You start getting that pump. You're starting to feel good. You're starting to grab that bar like you want to fucking bend it. You're like, hey, maybe if I took a little more, and maybe if I ate a little more, and maybe if I trained a little harder, and you get sucked into it. And that's where I think the Russian roulette comes into play.
Okay. Pantano.
Well, first, I definitely want to say I very much agree with Jimmy, where if you're not planning on competing or you don't want to compete, but you just want to be one of those guys that just take stuff so that your arms look good in a shirt in the club. And I can see the appeal there, but no, that's when I think that you shouldn't be taking stuff. I really do agree with Jimmy where taking that stuff is for those people that just want to compete. I know probably people are going to hate on Jimmy and I for saying that, but I mean, that's just how we feel. Like he was saying, it's taking an uncalculated risk for no reason. Now for me, when it comes to actually making that choice, besides maybe age, I definitely don't think someone should be taking stuff at 18. I think they should be at least 22 or 23. That's sort of there's a lot of the really good pros have started taking 21, 22, 23. But I think what's more important as opposed to age is the mental maturity of the person. This is what I think is extremely important because if you're one of those kids, and I've seen guys that are 30 years old that take stuff and they're out drinking every weekend and partying and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? You're just added bullshit to your body for no reason. So I think mental maturity plays a huge role in that. I mean, you need to be able to be okay, I'm doing this. You need to be self-aware of what the side effects could be, everything that you're getting into. And, you also got to have the training, the recovery, and the diet in check. If none of those are in check, you have no business taking PEDs, whether that happens at 23, 24, 32, whatever. I mean, like Jimmy was saying, if you're in your mid 30s and you have low T levels and you're on TRT, or in your 40s, whatever, to just overall quality of life, fine, I get it. But unless like I said, unless you're really planning on competing,
it's tough, man.
It really is, because I don't want to sit here and dictate the rules. I want to more create a guideline. It's kind of early 20s. I think 20, 22, 23. More 23 is kind of a good age because the body still can kind of grow sometimes in males. Up to that point, from what I've read, mental maturity, and then make sure you have PD should not be taken lightly under any. It's not just I'm just taking a shot of this, and this, and then you're screwing up everything else. You got to have diet, training, recovery, all that in check before. And you got to.
But Chris, 75% of those people don't.
No, they don't. But I mean, here's the thing: you're taking that stuff. Your hormone levels rise. You feel like a goddamn god. You feel like you're unstoppable all the time. And you're like, okay, I'm good no matter what. It's not so much the first 5, 6, 7 years you're on the stuff. It's what's going down later on in life.
Until right.
Exactly.
And then when time comes to have kids, and you find someone that you want to settle down with, now you can't have kids.
Dude, 30 years ago, in 1996, I was a god. I was at the peak of my man. I was 22, 23. Ooh. I won my class at the Ohio. I was bouncing, working at a produce store. I was jacked, but mentally, I wasn't there, right? I had other issues, right? Other than that, mentally, I think if I would have known, I may have waited even longer. But for me, I had a systematic plan, and I would tell every kid, and maybe I'm old. I know I'm old school. I would say take time, 18, 19, 20, just wait. Just train, get you a base, learn your body, learn what works for you, learn your digestion. There's so much information out there that you can grow naturally if you just put some effort into it. Yeah. But again, these kids want instant access because they want to go from skinny to C-bum. Like they want to get like, oh, I want to get a revived contract. They see that it's the same thing we saw, Ron. The same kind of weeder, like muscle tech, that the glory and the glitz we saw. But these kids, it's easier to get now, right? So like I said, that 17-year-old kid was talking about IGF-1 and he had needed TRT. I'm like, dude, you're 17, you should be banging everything that walks. What are you talking about? Like, you should need TRT. Like, that's what I told him. Like, you should be banging. Like, you should be enjoying being 17. Learn, eat some food, right? What do they teach us? The Weeder magazine taught us you got to eat calories, right? So we ate a lot of shit, a lot of milk in our Weeder dynamic muscle builder, but we ate and we had that plan. We did basics. We didn't have hammer strength. We had a bench, an incline bench, pulls. So we were set up kind of, I don't want to say to succeed, but we had a base. We didn't have, Ron, if we had access to like a $40 bottle of sip at 19, what would we have done?
Yeah. We had liver tabs.
Yeah, we were taking liver tabs, Jeremy. Those big twin lab,
those big ass bottle, right?
Yeah, the desiccated liver. Those things smell horrible.
Yeah, but it's hard telling a kid that's insecure that sees other guys getting girls. Because think about it, kids, they love bodybuilding, but they want to get girls. They want to be impressive. They want it with their peers. So it's hard to tell them no. But like, and would I have said no? Maybe not. But you know, hindsight's 20/20. And I got a family member that I tell, man, listen, you got to take it easy, do it slow, cut back on the weight, watch your health. Like, you know what I mean? Like and he kind of listens, but kids don't listen, Ron. They don't listen, man.
And well, here are my rules. I want to lay down my rules. You can't do steroids until. So I feel it's more, I do feel mental maturity is a thing. And, you know, it's different. I've met some 19, 20-year-olds that are more mature than 30, 35-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
But generally speaking, I think 22, 23 for me is like a minimum. Like I don't like to see anyone. And people say, well, who gives a fuck what you want to see, Harris? Well, whatever. I don't think you should have to compete. I do think it makes more sense if you're going to be competing, but still, I feel like who am I to tell someone you have to get up on stage in a thong or else you're not worthy to stick a needle in your ass. So no, I get that, but I'd like to see a natural base on someone because people come to me all the time. Young kids DMing me. I'm sure you guys get the messages left and right too. When should I start? When should I start? Am I ready? So I look at, I don't say, okay, you're ready to start right now. I never like encourage them, but I say, have you built a really good base of size and strength? Do you even look like you work out? If you don't even look like you work out, why don't you eat a bunch of food for a couple of years, good food, get a bunch of sleep, train your ass off, put some muscle on, look like you lift weights. Then maybe we can start talking about, is it time to go a step further and enhance that with chemicals? Like Chris said, do you know how to eat? Is your training in order? Is your nutrition in order? Because if you start gear, and I've seen this a million times over the years, if you start using PEDs and you don't have all that in place, you don't know how to make gains naturally yet, you're going to rely so much on the gear that when you come off, and you better come off at some point.
That ain't happening now. Nowadays, that's not happening.
I know that's scary. But I've seen guys come off, the ones that started gear right away, and they lost so much so fast, they got so depressed. Either they jumped right back on, or they quit training and bodybuilding like that. And I never saw them they just freaking disappeared off the face of the earth. So, yeah.
I used to say all those people that would just hop on right away, it was all just chem-induced. That was like the terminology I used to use because you'd see them. Then there was this one guy that used to come to the gym where I trained at. It was in Club X in East Bridgewater. And me and my friend called him Cheat Curl McD-Ball. That was this guy's name. And this dude would show up, right? And he'd look like a water buffalo, but he was like so round and full. And he'd literally be just doing like cheat curls with 185 pounds on the barbell. And then you'd see him like after he'd come off and he looked like he dropped, I swear, like 30, 40 pounds. And you wouldn't see him in the gym for like 4 months. And you'd see him back in again. He'd all be puffed up and, one of those things. It's like I spent 10 years building a very strong base, and I'm very, very proud of. I mean, now, do I wish personally I started a little bit earlier? Yeah, I do. I do wish I started maybe around like 24, 25, but if I'm being real with myself, looking back at that time, I was not mentally ready to take that stuff. Like I still worked in security. I had a lot of late nights. I was interning, full time plus school. I was still out enjoying my friends and with my friends and stuff like that. So I just wasn't mentally, as they would say, locked in. I wasn't locked in back then. So it wouldn't have done me any good.
See, Ron, you turned around and you said, well, I'm going to tell this guy, well, why don't you just wait for 2 years? Do what you got to do, to get that 2 years. You lost him.
I know.
Yeah.
You lost him. I mean, if they're coming to you now saying, hey, I like to do this, and you don't give them what they want to hear, they're on to the next guy.
Right.
You
can't tell when you use when anyone, even us, if someone told me it's going to take this many years, I'm like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
If I tell some kid how long is it going to take to look like one of these guys, even if you have the genetics to look like a Jimmy Mentis, you're not going to look like that with 1 year of training and gear. It's not going to happen. It's going to take years. Probably like 10 years to get to that level, at least.
We got sucked into it. That's how I did. I got sucked into it because you're in there a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I never knew it was going to take me so long to learn my body. Listen, consistency, food, training, that's a non-negotiable. Those two are non-negotiables. Okay. Now you got to see, how does my body work with everything? Not only the PEDs, the food, everything put together. And then, you're like, okay, you're on one cycle. Everything's just clicks, right? The food, the training, everything just clicks. And then you come off on the off season, then you go back on and you're like, okay, I'm going to do exactly what I did last time. That ain't going to work. Okay. So now you're actually starting again with a white sheet of paper. So now you're learning your body again, 10, 15 pounds heavier. And that's the progression that bodybuilding needs. You're always learning. I remember when I used to train, man, if I could just look this pumped in the daytime, right? And it's just one cycle. It was just one cycle. So I want to be pumped. I want to wake up like this. I want to wake up like this. I want to be pumped. It's just so going back to everybody saying, you can start whenever you want to start. But, like I know I said about competing, and I'll still stick to that. But now people they just want to look good.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to look good. And now steroids, okay, which I'm going to make it sound harsher because PED is a very soft, okay word. But you say steroids, now it's like, whoa, right?
Oh, hello,
it's like, whoa. So whoever wants to take steroids to look good, go ahead. But that's today's world.
But you know what, though? When you see young bodybuilders now, like they're really good, get really good, really fast, like 22, 23, most don't last. Like Regan's a guy, he stuck around, but we see these kids around at 22, we're like, oh, they look awesome. And then poof, a couple years are gone because where else is there to go? Cody Montgomery, where else when their frames are tapped out at 22 and and they look awesome, you're like, ugh. Even Rich Gaspari lasted really 6 years, if you think about it. Right. 22 to 29, he was on the decline by 91. Like that's a quick. This isn't a sprint; it's a marathon, right? And everybody isn't Lee Priest, everybody isn't Jay Cutler, right? Those genetic freaks like that, the 19, 20-year-olds, the Branch Warren, Eddie Robinson, those guys are rare.
Looks like if you look and see the NPC Teenage Nationals, if you go all the way back to the old days, they still have that show. It still exists. I can't remember the last time I heard about who won. Cody Montgomery was like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the list of the names, a couple of them are still. They did go on to become successful, like Sean Ray, Jay Cutler, Branch Warren. But the vast majority of them, that was their pinnacle. They were pretty much. They might have kept competing for a little while after that, but they were done. And I think it goes back to starting the gear too young, because people that want to start young or that do start young, they always say, well, Sean Ray started young and look, he did great. And so started young. They'll pick like the exception rather than the rule, which most people do cherry pick that way. But I do think that if you go on gear very young and you build a shit ton of muscle, I think you're going to hit your ceiling a lot quicker for most people. And where do you go from there? You know, if you're already on a couple grams of gear at 18 years old and 10 IUs of growth, I mean, what are you going to do by the time you're 30 if you're still bodybuilding? You're going to be on 10 grams of gear, 40 IUs?
I don't love it though. Like it's a difference between like loving training and just taking gear to train, right? Like people that we love to go to the gym. We love to go, even if we don't take. I'm beat up. We're beat up. It's hard to go to the gym now, but we still love it. Those kids don't love the actual training. They love the result from the gear and the look. They love walking. They love the girls look. Which, hey, it's cool. Do your thing, bro. But are you gonna be there 10 years from now? How many guys from the gym that you know from like 20 years ago even train? Right? Like I know quite a few. Right? It's a different love, and yeah, gear helps. And you wish kids would make the right decision, but do you really love doing it? Like. So if you want to shoot your shoulder. Like, but if you don't love the food, why am I going to shoot my shoulder if I don't like eating a bunch of food? Right? I'm not going to do this just to do it. Like for me, it was always about competing. Like I always took gear because I knew I had a show. Right? I don't think I could do it just to go on a cruise or for spring break. Right? That's not how I would do it.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Frank Grillo, the actor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very open about what he uses to prepare for some roles. You know, even when he was in that movie Boss Level, like he literally looked like he was running like Winstrol and like high dose of mass because he was just like so grainy looking. It was an impressive physique, you know, for Hollywood. And to kind of go on with that, it's like, we all say kind of like, don't take PEDs unless you're ready to compete. If you are going to take PEDs, in my opinion, the reasoning why you want to take them, I feel like has to be somewhat legit. Like, if you're taking them just to try to get followers on Instagram and try to land a supplement contract, I'm like, I personally wouldn't do that. I think that's kind of dumb because I feel like the values there and the morals are just not right. If you were always like a fat person or someone that just wanted to just for a couple of years, just see how good a shape you could get by taking a little extra enhancements, I'm not going to criticize someone for that. You know what I mean? I may not agree with it, but I'm certainly going to be understanding of why they would do it.
Right. But that's a personal goal. It's
exactly. Right? Not for the wrong reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is a fair point, Donald Pump. I mean, it's fair. Doing steroids to look good, bad. Doing steroids to wear a thong on stage, good. It can seem kind of hypocritical because the vast majority of people who compete, they're never going to make a penny from it. Most people who compete are never going to win an overall. Most people will be, out of the top 5, or maybe they can get fourth. The genetic elite are always going to be the people who succeed in bodybuilding. That's just the way it is. It's a harsh.
You're still competing, though. You're still competing, Ron.
But why can we say, okay, it's all right for this guy that he's never going to win a contest in his life? I can look at him. I've seen these people. You've seen them at shows. The structure, the shape, they're fucked. Drugs, they are. There's no amount of drugs. So Dorian says a bag of shit on steroids is a bigger bag of shit. They're bigger and leaner, but it's not pretty. And yes, this is a beauty pageant with muscles. That's really what bodybuilding is.
Yeah, so, Donald Pump does kind of have a point, Ron. I mean, I'll agree with him. I mean, we're over here saying like unless you don't compete or whatever, because we're kind of saying like only bodybuilding is reserved for people that should be taking PEDs. I kind of get where he's coming from because it does sound hypocritical. You know what I mean? But it's like,
but there's an end result there.
Well, yeah, but I guess what he's saying is like maybe that end result, being on stage, getting tan and getting glazed up and being in like, posing trunks, maybe to the average person, the average person, it looks fucking retarded.
Hey, you know what? At the end of the day, it's whatever lifts your skirt, right?
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time saying, well, no, you shouldn't. You just want to be Instagram famous. How dare you use drugs to do that? Because that's a legitimate avenue now for a lot of people. I mean, my gym is packed full of kids with tripods. They all want to be like the next social media superstar. You know, some of them are getting a little bit of a following. Like, geez, we got a girl. She's not on steroids, but there's a girl that goes, a Greek girl, Jim. She's a plus size model and she's got like 2 million followers. Yeah. So, wow. But
listen, if someone's playing like pickleball and takes gear, that any different than someone playing like football taking gear? You're both competing, you're trying to win. Like, I justify it as, yeah, I'm in a thong, but I'm trying to whoop this guy's ass on stage. Even that dude that's like never going to win a show, that's taking like 5 grams of shit. In his mind, he's like, I'm going to whoop these guys' ass. No one, his friends are like, nah, you ain't going to whoop nobody's ass. Yeah. But it's still like, for me, it's always about competition, right? If whatever you got to do to win, I don't give a shit what you got. That's my crazy mentality. Like, Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't give a shit.
I agree. I agree about that.
It's a competition. Like, you're competing to win. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's what they say in sports.
But Mike, everything's a competition. Think about it, right? Let's just say that I never competed and I got in shape and I'm a social media, star right now, and I'm pulling in 50K at 60 years old, and I got abs, and I'm selling programs left and right.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I think this conversation, I think we're like 10 years late. Because it's okay now. It's okay.
The crazy thing is, Jimmy, is some of these influencers that are taking PDs that'll never step on stage are probably going to be making more money than all these bodybuilders that are competing. And that's the sad truth.
Chris, they are.
I know. Oh, I know.
They are.
I know. The problem with that, though, is some of those influencers have that image to keep. So they're staying on. They're pushing the vote all the time. They're not coming off. You know what I mean? And they could run into some issues with that. Same thing with, anyone else taking this stuff.
And the bodybuilders aren't?
I was about to say the same as everyone else. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like I said, it's for today's society, it's normal. It's okay. I think we're taking what we did years ago and that taboo type of thing. I think we're trying to bring it into today's society, today's world. And I think we don't belong here. This conversation doesn't belong here. I'm hearing all of us say this, and I'm seeing the comments, and whoever comment, they're right.
Well, the secretness is gone. Like it's like pro wrestling now, like the kayfabe. We see it on Netflix about what really happens in pro wrestling. So it's kind of like in bodybuilding, we know what really goes on. I didn't know what these guys were. As a kid, I really thought these guys weren't taking that much shit, right? Or I didn't know what they were doing because it wasn't in our face. We didn't read about it. The muscle media comes out and blows the doors off everything. And then it's a whole different ball game when you really see it, right? So it's like Jimmy said, we are dinosaurs in this. And like, I think it is like, why it's still a secret. It's so hush hush still. But online, it's like, here's what somebody on my Facebook, he just lists out what he's taking, like just shows it. On the internet, I'm thinking, holy shit, DA, don't look
on YouTube doing the shots,
bro.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think that I see people all the time, and they're like under like 185 pounds. They're running like 1.5 grams of gear, 6 units of G8s, and they're just posting it, and they're just getting fucking flamed in the comments. They're like, "Oh yeah, all that gear just to look natty." But then I saw I forget which IFBB Pro did it, but I saw an IFBB Pro that posted their cycle. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like, I would never do that just because I wouldn't want some kid to see that and think like, that's how I look like this. They don't see the last 23 years of lifting, 10 of it being natural. They just see what I look like right now, saying this is what I take. And I just think that sets a bad example. Like, everyone's going to take their stuff. I wish people would do it, and they do it in the safest possible manner where they're managing the risk factor. But the problem is that they're not going to do that. And I don't want to be the one that contributes to that by posting my stuff publicly like that.
Well, if everybody kept their shit to themselves, I think we'd all be in a better place.
Probably, yeah.
But that's what people need now to be relevant, right? It's the out of body, like it's the holy shit impact. That's what sells. That's what gives the views. That's what
I
clicks.
call it gear porn.
Gear
like
porn.
the food
That's
porn,
actually
like
pretty good, Ron.
gear porn. Like to me, this isn't personal. I have nothing against Niall Naga, I think is his name. He has a podcast, very successful.
Oh.
The Transparent, not Transparent, Transparent podcast. He has a lot of big names on there, and everybody has. I think he must clear it with them ahead of time. Like, we're going to talk about your cycle, or else, you don't come on my show. You're going to tell everyone what you take, and everyone lays out exactly what they take. And I promise you, there are a ton of young kids out there who are sitting there screen grabbing it and going, okay, 1,000, 1,250, 10, and they're going to do the same cycle because they want to look like that guy. That's what, like Mike says, we didn't know. We had no idea what these people were using, but these kids now, they know exactly what a lot of the top amateurs and pros are using. And I promise you, they're duplicating those.
You wouldn't put crap on YouTube, man. Who does that on a podcast? Like, you can't learn how to like manufacture. A drug dealer wouldn't go on a show and say, this is how you make meth or crack, or it blows my mind. And I've seen that podcast, and it's just like, I just sit there like, holy shit. And like I said, if I knew what Dorian was doing, Ron, we might have done the same thing, though.
Yeah.
So it's catch-22.
We would have.
Yep.
Because
no doubt.
The influence.
Yep.
Once you get around, like, oh, okay. Remember I told you guys on another podcast when I went to California, and then I sat with Chris and Rico and Flex, and I'm like, really? Wow, I'm really not doing anything. Yeah. Because I sat and we had lunch, and I'm like, I'm going back to Florida. I'll be back 40 pounds heavier. If I never had that conversation, who would have known?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we're having this conversation late in one sense, but I think in another sense, it still needs to be said, because we have more young people now with access to PEDs and with awareness PEDs than we did. I mean, they can get all this shit online. It's super easy.
That's all they talk about, though. I never hear anyone say, this is what I'm eating, or this is how heavy with the dumbbells I'm using. It's always, what are you taking? Right. And it was weird. Like, even back when I was bigger, every now and then you have someone come up and talk to you and ask you. It would freak me out when someone would say, do you take stuff? Like, or if you're at a bar and someone says, well, what are you taking?
Yeah.
Like, what? No DEA officer. I'm not falling for that trap.
What are you running, bro? What are you running?
I get that question all the time. I've had kids come up to me, and I don't even know who these people are. Hey, what's your cycle? Right off the bat.
It's an easy conversation.
I look at them and I go, you know what? I go, the fact that you didn't ask me how long I've been training, how much I'm eating, shows me you're not ready for this conversation, and please get out of my face. That's what I say. I don't tell them that. Kind of like what you guys were saying, Ron. Like when the big guys start talking to you about it, that's sort of like your rite of passage. Like they think you're acceptable. Yeah. So it's like when I see another person that's like a competitor, all of a sudden they come up to me and they look, hey, let me ask you what you're running or whatever. I'll look, okay, that's when I'll have that conversation. You know what I mean? But if it's someone that just has no business asking that question, I have a 14-year-old kid ask me if I've ever taken Anavar before. And I'm like,
God.
I'm like, buddy, go do math or something. Go do your homework. Like, come on.
Do you guys know? Obviously, you guys know I was Rich Gaspar's training partner, right? Rich and I, day in, day out. To this day, I will put my hand on the Bible. I never knew what Rich took.
Wow.
Okay. In 1986, when they came to Greece and the Athens Grand Prix, when Rich lost to Lee Labrada, and all these guys came to the gym, I had in the back patio, I had turf in the back patio, and the sun was hitting, and now here's me, 1986, okay? I had Barry DeMay, Bob Paris, Mike Quinn, Robbie Robinson, Rich Gaspari, Lee Labrada, okay, in the sun, in posing trunks, eating out of their Tupperware. If this was today, I would have pulled up a chair and say, hey, guys, what are you all taking?
Yeah.
Not once did I even think about the disrespect to say, hey, guys, you want to throw me a bone? Nothing.
I would see Marcus Haley in the gym almost every day, Ron, back in a couple years ago. and never one time asked what he's doing.
Yeah.
Never. He said the one time he mentioned he was working with Noel for the Tijuana show that he did. They looked really good at, but he just never said Noel's having me eat all this shit. It was never like, this is what I'm doing. It was just, it's a respect thing too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's just I would never, even at expos, there's a certain level of respect. Like we give like Lee Haney, like these guys we see, even current pros. It's a respect thing in general, man to man respect. Like you don't go up and ask someone that. Like if you're cool like that, whatever. But nobody's going to the meet the Olympians, and hopefully they're not talking about that at the meet the Olympians. I would sense they might. I would hope they would have enough class not to be discussing that when you're at a show like that, bro. But I'm old. I'm a dinosaur, man.
I've been around pros for 35 years, and it never occurred to me to ask them what they were using, because I knew if I knew they were on whatever basics, it wasn't going to be anything that was going to change my life. Whatever they were using, I could use that. I know, here's Ronnie Coleman. I'm not going to look like Ronnie. It doesn't matter what I take. I'm never going to look like that. That's a genetic freak of freaks. All these people, all the top bodybuilders, a Bumstead or whatever, whoever you want to name, and anybody watching this, you could take exactly what Chris Bumstead takes for a year. You could do his cycle for 10 years. You're never going to look like him. He's like a 1 in a million genetic anomaly. So, but that's what I think most people have that in their heads, that a certain look is achievable with a certain cycle. Like if I want to weigh X amount, how much do I have to use? They think it's a direct correlation, like an equation. If you take 2 grams of this, so many IUs of that, you'll look like that. Right? If only it worked like that.
Well, don't forget, even when they're training, how many sets and reps do I need to do?
Yeah.
Right. So it's the mentality.
Yeah.
They think it's a number. No, it's time. It's I don't know.
It's about the genetic lottery. Like this thing, the comment here says, bodybuilding will let you know where you fit in, right? A lot of young kids start competing, and this sport will humble you very quickly. Now, do you want to keep going over and like we see guys, amateur guys, like local guys we've seen over the years, every year, they're doing the same local show. This one kid did the Mr. Ohio every year, and every year he got his ass kicked. Cool dude, but you have to like kind of know eventually, no matter how many drugs you take, it might not be in the cards. I'm not in the NBA, Ron. As much as I want to play pro basketball and dunk, 5'6" wasn't going to cut it, right? 5'6" wasn't going to cut it playing shortstop for the Cleveland Indians. It just wasn't in my cards, right? And I think when I knew that is when I kind of like let me do the bodybuilding thing. And then sometimes in the bodybuilding thing, oh shit, there's levels to this too. Right, a good ass kicking a good third call out in bodybuilding will humble the fuck out of you, right? So
either you're coming back harder or you ain't coming back.
No, but again, it just goes to kind of what we talked about in the group chat. Now everybody at nationals it's like, oh, how'd you do? I was out of the top 10. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just a whole. Everybody gets a trophy thing, but don't get me started on that. But
yeah, I mean,
it's just a whole different world, man.
Back then, you made top 15 in the nationals. You were good,
dude. Yeah, that was no joke, man.
You came back at night.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know, man. When I did nationals in 24, that light heavyweight class was fucking stacked.
It was about 50 guys.
That was a stacked class.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear stacked if there were 5 people in your class. But any of you people ever did.
No, never. Yeah.
Just to get back to the basketball thing, because it's weird that our sport, if you want to call it a sport, kind of is more of a pageant, but it's one of the only sports where so many participants are delusional in thinking they have the ability to be someday at the top, when it's usually pretty apparent. I can, within a couple of years of training, and certainly within a couple of years of using gear, I can tell who has the potential to go very far and you don't have it. Like basketball, that's a great example. How many kids are in this country, forget about the rest of the world because I'm just going to make it easier. How many kids in this country play basketball on courts like every weekend or every day, or in their high school team, or maybe even make the college? Out of all the kids that started playing basketball when they were like 7, 8 years old, How many of those kids make it to the NBA? Like 0.0000, a lot of O's and a 1%. But why? It doesn't matter how hard they practice, how great their coaching was. You have to have an extraordinary genetic, athletic level ability. All these genetic components for speed, for reaction time, all these things have to be in place. Height, like Mike could have had all those things, but at 5'6", people like to say, well, Muggsy Bogues and Spud Webb. Yeah, those two guys out of like 20,000 people in the NBA over the years.
Exactly.
It's just not going to happen for you. But bodybuilders, so many of them, it's easier for them to just say, well, if I use more drugs, if I get the right cycle, then I could make that leap and I could be one of the best. It's easier to say that than to say, you know what? I'm fucked. I didn't have the right parents, and this is not, it's not in the cards for me.
Right. But Ron,
yeah,
that one cycle might also be that one cycle that puts them over the top.
Are you being sarcastic or no?
No, I'm serious.
Oh.
You got a guy knocking on the door at a pro card, knocking on the door in a pro card. He gets with the right coach, and that coach turns around and says, hey, you're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't know where that person may go. Where I find it hard for today's world is everybody wants to jump on the PEDs and the steroids and make a living out of it. They think everybody's going to make a living out of it once they get their pro card.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
It's not like that anymore at all.
Chris, it wasn't like that back then.
No.
There was very, very few. I mean, I was fortunate enough, and I didn't even win any shows, right? So, but it wasn't even then.
No.
You came out of the USA's, or the Nationals, you had a Weider contract, and you were on there. Either Bleckman picked you up or Joe picked you up.
Yeah. Okay.
That was it. And then you had the supplement companies, right? You had Metrex, Muscle Tech, yeah. Metrex, Muscle Tech. Who else?
Twin Lab.
Twin Lab.
There were 3-4 of them.
Yeah.
Early 2000s was BSN.
And the bars. Remember the bars that came worldwide? You remember Pure Protein?
Oh yeah.
So those came out, and everybody.
EAS was another one.
Yeah. Bill was dominating, but Bill went to NFL, right? Shannon Sharp. Remember Shannon Sharp used to sit at the booth at the Arnold Classic?
Yeah.
So there's always back then there was always a component there to be somebody and make money off the sport. Now, but that was at a level. That was at a high level. Now, to be a competitor in the sport, guy or girl, right? There's no level. It's a matter of how you're exposing yourself. So you get on stage, then you got personal training, you got your social media, and next thing you know, and I know guys right now, I actually spoke to 2 guys today that have qualified for the Olympia. I'm not going to say what level Olympia, masters or physique or whatever, that actually say, hey, I don't need to compete anymore. I can live off my social media.
Well, too, I think a lot of the women bodybuilders, why the numbers are so low, is because of the risks involved, and they make more money off the social media, right? Like even for this topic for a girl, like it would be, I couldn't fathom being like a young lady making that choice, right? Because it's so. I'll look back on it now, for me, and it's like, holy shit! Like someone like there was a girl in Toledo. Her name was Stephanie Venter. She won the Southern States. But it was just the changes in her physique and her body were just like, and I love meatheads. I'm a meathead, right? But it's just it's a different risk for those girls too. But you just feel for them, right? These are life altering decisions for everybody. Yeah. Like your health, bro. Like,
do you know how many females I see now that are blasting PEDs at like 18, 19 years old?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And they're like, I saw this one video. This girl was like, oh, yeah, I've been on PEDs for 6 months. Like, I haven't virilized one bit. 2 months later goes by, you can see the hair recede it. And she's like, oh, my hair's not thinning out. I'm like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
And my wife's a women's physique pro, and like she, her last prep with a certain coach had her on a lot of stuff. Even I looked at it, I'm like, you fucking serious? And she hasn't taken anything ever since. She's like, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
And like, so I mean, I've seen some of these girls that are just blindly taking this stuff, or they're working with a coach that has no idea what they're doing with women's hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And they're virilizing like crazy, and I feel more for them than I do with some of the men, just because the men's bodies seem to be a little more resilient to it. But when you start taking the same compounds for women, it's worse.
Yeah, I'm not to put anyone in blast. I'm not going to have them come back at me, but even in our area, New England, I've seen once wellness came around in the NPC, I started seeing a lot of young Brazilian girls, particularly, starting to juice their skulls out. And obviously they were being coached by, a couple prominent local people. But I'm like, oh my God, these girls are 18, 19, 20. And I'm listening to them talk, and the voices are already super deep.
Yep.
You can already start to see a little bit of a, they probably had to shave that morning. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, they're jacked. That's one thing, wellness. I don't want to put the whole division down, but I think it encouraged a lot of young girls who were either leaning toward bikini or figure, but for whatever reason, they had naturally big legs and butts. They're like, oh shit, wellness. I could kick ass in this wellness thing. And they saw the top wellness girls, the look it's a geared up look. And they knew if they want to ever aspire to be at that level. And, the coaches were right there saying, yeah, definitely get them on. And I agree. The women, they're screwed for life. I mean, I don't think that voice ever goes back, right?
No, the voice doesn't go back.
During
it does.
It can a little bit when they come off, but it won't go back to what its normal state was before any sort of PD.
If it changes a little during, there is a possibility when you come off that it goes back a level. But when you're off after that cycle and you're, it's basically you got that raspy voice, that's yours forever.
Yeah, I mean, so many times I went to the Arnold Classic, Olympia, and you'd see these retired women bodybuilders. Some of them were never professionals or anything, but the skin was like leather. The voices were like Barry White. They had wigs on because they had lost all their hair.
Yeah.
Big fat noses from the GH, big thick caveman brows from the GH. And everyone, they're trying to play it off, but they could see people out of the corner of their eye, like whispering, like, what the fuck? Look at that. Oh my God. She looks like a gargoyle. And I felt bad for them because, I'm sure they went into it with the best of intentions. And a lot of women get into gear just because a coach or a boyfriend or a husband or something, just take this. We're going to put you on this. It's going to be fine. Nothing to worry about. And they did as they were told and had no idea that irreversible damage.
I mean, you hope it's real. You hope your Anavar is not D-ball, right? You hope.
Well, that happens a lot.
Your primo isn't test or EQ.
That whole D-ball Anavar thing is happening right now as we speak.
Oh, I know.
It's never stopped.
Same thing with primo. It could be EQ or test.
Yeah.
Ron,
you were talking about the female bodybuilders, and some of them are so nice.
Oh yeah,
I know.
They're like sweethearts. Yeah, they're like. So somewhere in their life, right? Something happened, right? Somewhere you can't. At some point you see it happening. Like I don't know. Like I know a lot of
charger really quick, guys.
I know a lot of them, and you see them at the shows, and they're just so nice.
But you know what, funny man, you can see that there's a couple of girls local that I've seen for years that you see them start training, you see them get that boyfriend, and that meathead boyfriend starts competing, and you can see the change in them, like over the years, to where they go from sweet to they get sucked. Listen, this sport can suck you in. I don't know how it is now, but it can suck you in to where it's just your obsession 24 hours a day. And you see it with some of the women sometimes. They're just all in, and that boyfriend, then they start fighting, and then it's like a soap opera. Like bodybuilding is truly theater when you think about it, man. Like it's a reality TV show at times.
Well, we've all seen, because we're all older. We've seen there was always like one or two meathead guys at every gym we've ever been to that would go through a different girlfriend every few months or year, and every single girl that he would introduce to gear and basically get her all virilized and then on to the next one. And that she's messed up for life. Yeah. And, she probably didn't even have any intentions of ever doing steroids.
No.
And I don't even know if they had any, that's another thing. I think people should do a lot of research. I forgot to mention that. They should know what the F they're putting in their bodies and what the benefits and the harms can be. But I'm sure a lot of these women had no idea what they were taking, what it could do to them, what it would do to them. And these boyfriends, they just didn't give a fuck. They like, just take this Anavar, take this Deca, take this Primo, take this Trend, whatever. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Right. But
even they told him what it is, but they may not even say, hey, just take this. Because they just trust him, right? That he wouldn't steer me wrong. He wouldn't do this, right? But there's some shady people involved.
I think when the women start stuff, they think they're going to stop in time.
Mm.
I know a lot of girls bikini. I had contracted, for years, bikini girls, they're beauty fit, and some of them got out of hand, and some of them stopped, got married, had kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of these, right?
Yeah.
And it's just in someone's personality where they want to go with it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I do think, again, going back to the influence, who are you hanging with?
Yeah.
The
thing is because these kids are on social media, they don't have to have people directly in their real world environment. They can be watching videos and TikToks and I don't know all this. They can be influenced that way rather than we were influenced by the people around us.
Right.
These kids might have a million people that they follow. And especially if these people are being transparent and putting their cycles on all the time, which is very, very common with these young kids. Mm. They seem to have no problem laying out exactly what they're taking. And yeah, even showing them injecting and everything, because that's a way to get followers and just get their numbers up on social media by being outrageous like that or transparent. And, the kids are like, man, thank you for your honesty. These other people lie and
thank you for being transparent.
No,
exactly. I've seen videos. I saw a video with like a 15 or 16-year-old kid injecting peptides before the gym and taking liquid Cialis. I mean, what do you're 16. What do you need liquid Cialis for? And then second of all, where is this kid's parents?
That's what you want to
cashing in on the YouTube channel.
The parents. I sound like a dad now. I'm definitely showing my age here, but I'm like, damn, man, like where is this kid's parents at?
Dad and mom are at the mailbox collecting the YouTube check.
Oh shit!
Well, that's a good point. Like if my kids are older now, but if my son's 15, 16, and in a month he puts on 20, 30 pounds, he's bloated, he's got zits. And his physique, he looks like a whole different person. How do you not sit that kid down? And go, what are you doing? And you need to stop, because if you're a parent and you willingly, that's like letting your kid shoot heroin or something, as far as I'm concerned.
And my father still asks where I'm going. He's 78 years old. If I'm in his house, I say, where are you going? You know what I mean? I got gray hair. He's still, but it's just, I don't know. Like, where are the parents? Where are they getting the money to buy all these cycles? Like, where's that 17-year-old kid in my gym getting money for IGF-1? Like, I couldn't afford that back in the day. Where's he getting that from? So it just, peer pressure is real, man. Like, it's a different kind of peer pressure. I mean, I'm sure with drinking and drugs, it's a lot too, but like peptides, these kids are taking peptides. They're like 17, 18 years old.
I think the steroid movement is a lot bigger than the recreational drug movement.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's more steroids being taken by teenagers than actual drugs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, we know the younger generation isn't drinking nearly as much.
No, at all.
Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But their liver either way is going to be shot.
The booze or Anadrol, one of the two is going to get
I was just going to say that.
I'd rather do the Anadrol.
I don't want to piss off all the peptide companies, but that's another point is a lot of these young kids, they don't think they think steroids are bad and dangerous, but they think peptides. I could take all the peptides in the world and it's fine. When most of these they're called research chemicals for a reason, because the FDA, they didn't go through that whole process that a pharmaceutical company goes through to get a drug to market. It takes like 7 years and I think an average of $2 billion to get a drug from experimental phase to market. And these peptides,
it's around that. Plus, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 clinical trials. And when I say clinical trials, that means human trials. That's what clinical usually means. So,
yeah, I mean, the late Boston Lloyd, the drug that did him in was a peptide. It was one that was it was like a super fat burner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would cause renal failure and death in mice within like 30 days.
Yeah, and he said, I'm not a mouse.
Here's the thing with Boston. He was reckless.
Yeah, he was.
God damn.
Yeah, but he knew it though, and he owned it.
Right, but that doesn't.
Even when he coached clients, he didn't have them run even close to what he was running.
But that's like saying, "Hey, I'm going to go play in the railroad tracks, and when a train comes, I think I can outrun it."
But Russian roulette, like it. Sometimes though, man, like
That's
even when you're young,
roulette. Mike, that's not Russian roulette.
Yeah,
that's just reckless. Like
you're not going to outrun a train. You're not.
Yeah.
Right. But was anybody? I don't want to sound insensitive, but was anybody surprised?
No. It was sad, but no, I was not surprised.
Sad. Everybody knew at some point that someone's going to get the phone call.
Yeah. It's true. You don't want to think about it, but like when you're taking those kind of risks, like you're gonna pay the piper one day, right? It's gonna have like you're looks like you get one heart, 2 kidneys, and 1 liver. Like you only take, and even with all the food, think about not even the drugs, but all the food we've eaten. That's a lot on your kids, a lot of protein, right? So it just and the kids now they don't eat, they just take drugs, but they don't eat. Yeah. It's a combination of everything. So it's just, but they don't push training or food at all.
You know what I say? The drugs that I thought were going to kill me are actually keeping me alive now.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I like to use this analogy here. It's like if you have like, I don't know, you just take like a car with a V6 on it, right? It's somewhat of a performance compared to like an OK 4-cylinder, but then you slap a supercharger or like a twin turbo on it and beef the car up, right? You're going to burn through your gas a lot quicker. So that supercharger or turbo, that's kind of like the PDs that you're taking to your body. It's going to stress the engine out more, and you're going to need to refuel it more. Like the gas is your food. So it's like you can't expect your car to run efficiently if you're not eating properly. Yeah. And at the same time, too, it's like you pushing all that food well on PDs, like who knows how inflamed your gut health is, how inflamed your gut is or how good your gut health is. That also can increase inflammation across the entire body. So, it's the PDs, it's like going back to what we were talking about. It's like you need to have certain controls in place, those variables that you can control, like again, the training, the eating, sleeping, and whatnot. Too much of something's not a good thing. Too little of something's not a good thing either.
No. The less you take, the better off you are.
I'm a firm believer in the less is more approach.
I actually did a post today. It was it took me about a day to write it because I didn't know how many things I did wrong.
Oh, you? Whose baby was that, Jimmy?
That's my grandchild.
Oh, I was going to say, I didn't know you had a baby.
Yes, I didn't know either, but no. My post was 5 mistakes I made in my early in my career, and one of them was I thought more was better until I realized that it wasn't. And when I pulled back, now my more was 1,500, 2,000. Okay, so when I pulled back between 8 and 1,200, my results were incredible. So. Less is more. And then you see where you're at. You don't start at 750, 1,000, 1,200. You start at the 400, at the 400 mark, and then you see where you're at. That first cycle, the second cycle. Like, work it slow. don't just jump into it. It's like jumping into a pool of cold water. There's a shock there. That's my little football there. That's the post. Yeah. You know.
And again, these aren't recommendations. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Thanks for the disclaimer.
I mean, that's a very important point. I want to hammer that home because it's get the most out of the least. If
right.
That's why I hate seeing kids start on these big cycles, because you're increasing the risk. Steroids are never safe, but they can be safer if you use less than if you use more. That just stands to reason. If you're smoking 2 cigarettes a day versus 30 cigarettes a day, which one is potentially probably going to do more damage to your health? Probably the 30 cigarettes. So if you start off on, a cycle that's 400 or 500 of tests or something, and then as cycles go on, you build on that through over time and still never get into anything crazy. I think most people are going to be far better off in the long run than starting off with 2 grams. And then a couple of years down the line, now they're on 5 or 6 grams because, they burnt out the receptors. I guess people are going to say, oh, the receptors don't burn out. That's a myth, but
that's stupid. They do burn out. They do burn out, man.
It's just, if I could impress one thing on everybody, please, if you're going to use them, start low. See how you do on a smaller amount. If you're making progress with that, there's no reason to double, triple, quadruple the dose. You're just taking more of a risk with your health. You're increasing your risks of having long-term problems.
And you'd be saving money.
Right.
Yeah.
I think with my experience throughout these years, with my personal experience and coaching, I really think, and I'm going to say this, I really think the damage is really not from the steroids itself. It's from the shit food. It's from the drinking. It's either from the pain pills. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's other elements that are added to this that really weaken the system. When I was doing them, man, I was afraid to look left and right. Like, I'm under my liver. There was a drug in Europe called Legalon. Okay. And it was a liver cleanse. Oh. And I would take 6 of them a day through my whole cycle. Like, I didn't drink. I'm not a drinker anyway, but I didn't eat shit. I didn't do anything so I can keep my liver healthy. I can keep everything healthy because I knew I was overloading my body. But now you see guys, not the pros now. You see that, I mean, the pros now are eating really good. Like we were eating worse. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you guys, you see these guys in their off season with freaking little sauces and mixing pineapple and fucking honey and shit. Man, we just did boiled rice.
Tuna out the canned tuna.
And we had that little can opener,
Yeah,
but what I wanted to say is, you can take the PEDs, but it's the outside that dirties the water more. And if you keep that water as clean as possible, the risks are less.
Think about how many college kids, though, are just probably taking like Primo or Mass, but they're partying every weekend.
They're not taking big dosages, though. They're not taking big dosages.
No, but they probably can't afford to use a student loan like I did. They'd be okay. But
yeah, they're not taking big dosages. I mean, if they take, 100, 200 Primo a week, what's that going to do?
They love saying I'm on Primo. I think they love saying I'm on Primo.
No, it's a trend.
Trends.
I'm trending.
That's the
I hate that compound. I absolutely despise that compound. I hate it.
That's because, Chris, you never had the right one. It's called
no. It works phenomenal. I mean, from the effects of it, it's fantastic. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I'm just not a huge fan on it.
Yeah,
taking it.
It did feel good. It worked, but I felt like absolute dog shit.
I'm sorry.
4 weeks was like the most I could tolerate because my kidney started to hurt. I was just a dick. Like I was night sweats. I was not. But it's funny because they get those effects, but they still do it. So I don't know. It's okay. Listen, we were young and dumb too.
I'm sorry. I loved it.
Well, I loved it too. But the insomnia, the mood swings.
Yeah. No, I didn't have any of that.
Okay.
None of it. I just took 2 amps a week, And by the third week, I wake up in the morning, I'd be like, God. And then every day after that, because when you're down 4 or 5 weeks out from a show, you're waking up a different person. When you stick to your diet.
That's like me with Halo. I love that.
Yeah.
And I only use it the last 4 weeks of a prep.
Oh, so we use the last 10 days. And we brought everything in together.
Yeah. But I would
you're talking about paraboling though, right? Paraboling?
Talking about paraboling, he brought up halo testing.
Yeah. Yeah, because trend and paraboling, I know chemically they're probably virtually identical.
Yeah.
But everyone that I know that is old enough to have taken paraboling versus trend says there's no comparison.
Well, trend is made like underground.
Right.
Paraboling is pharmaceutical. It was from France.
Yeah, it was actually used for humans, and then it got black box warning and discontinued.
Right. Yeah, it was in a white little box. It had a little blue swirl on it.
Yeah.
I never saw it. Damn it.
$19 an amp, bastards.
Missed it.
$19. Man, you were getting a fourth, fifth hand.
I was getting hacked.
They were like $4 in Greece.
Oh my gosh.
We were getting Primos for $2.
When they got to Toledo, they were probably $4. By the time they stepped on that shit, it was 19. Fuckers.
Well, now we're just making people want to get a hold of paraboling, but you need a time machine, guys.
Hey, I remember when the Masteron came around in the late 90s, $40 an amp.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Amp?
That'd be like
But that was the real Masteron. It was a 2cc Masteron. An amp. $40 an amp. And you took one every other day, 6 weeks out, and your life changed. Again, you're dieting, you're doing your cardio and stuff like that.
Yeah, but when you're already lean and stuff like that, when you add a compound like that, that's when you see the most crazy changes.
We didn't use Masteron and Primo in the off season.
Yeah,
we never did that stuff.
Meanwhile, I was like
Aha, I knew it. That's why I didn't get a pro card. I didn't have paraboling. I knew
there you go, Ron. That's all you need, bro.
That and choosing the wrong parents. That's what
screwed me. That was the secret.
Should have picked better parents. All right, guys. Well, we have been going for a while, and I knew this conversation would go in a lot of different directions, but I think we had some valid opinions. And guys watching this, if you watch this on the replay, you've got your opinions, and I'm here for it. Put them in the comments. I want to hear what you have to say, what you think. When's the right time? When's it too soon? When is a person ready or not ready? Or maybe you can jump on there and say you're never going to be ready. No one should use steroids. But leave it in the comments. And I'll try to think up another great one for next week, guys. But for now, I want to thank the panel. Big Mike Cox is here every time. And I think I got these guys for a while. We'll see. As long as I keep coming up with good topics and
you keep throwing that empty hook out there, I'm coming back in.
You guys are awesome. Love having you on the panel for the Meathead Podcast. Four intelligent meatheads. Count myself as intelligent.
Four intelligent meatheads.
Yeah, my wife would disagree. But that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
I love it.
She keeps me in check. Anyway, guys, thank you all.
Guys.
Appreciate it, everyone. Thanks for watching the Meathead Podcast. We'll see you right here. Same bat time, same bat channel next week. Peace out.